Are we on? Of course we're on, Madison. Of course we're on. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Edge's Facebook's page's #1 show at this particular time. 3 to 5 things we didn't have time to talk about today. I am your host, Fred Kennedy, and I'd like to thank this week's sponsor, Corey's Clothiers at 569 Danforth Avenue. Looking for a smart sports coat? Go to Corey's Clothiers, where they can make you almost 83% less ugly. True story. First things first. Speaking of well-dressed, probably shops at Corey's Clothiers, 569 Danforth Avenue, the Joker. Here's the thing. I actually really like the Joker. I used to love the Joker so much, but as I've gotten older, I found more comic book characters. I found the nuances of other things that aren't as big and popular as the Joker, and I like them a lot more. The Joker's still great. He's so great. Mark Hamill's Joker in Batman the Animated Series is like top shelf, absolutely amazing. But enough with the Joker. Like, he was in every commercial for Suicide Squad, and he was only in like 5 minutes of the movie total. All the hype around that movie was Jared Leto as the Joker. Was he in there? No. It's very annoying. I'm done with the Joker. I want something new. I want something different. But the Joker is now getting his own standalone movie being produced by none other than Goodfellas, Martin Scorsese. Also, Casino's really good, which is basically like the sequel to Goodfellas, but it's not. You know, it's different, but it's the same. You know, it's all about the mafia. Martin Scorsese does great movies. He really does. He really makes good movies, and he has gone on record saying he really wants to make a gritty movie about the Joker. I hate the term gritty because everything is so gritty nowadays. Like, all of the Warner Brothers movies, like the DC Cinematic Universe movies, all of those movies are too gritty. They need a better coffee filter. Get rid of the grit. We've seen enough. That's why Wonder Woman worked so well, because it wasn't super gritty. She is the example for all other DC movies to come after. Follow it, okay? There's a DC character I would like to see get a good movie. Emphasis on good. The Green Lantern. Can you see the ring? Can you see the ring? Can you make out what it is? Do you need to zoom in on it? Should I zoom in on it? See that? I'm deliberately making your life difficult. That's a Green Lantern ring. That's my wedding ring that I got because I love the Green Lantern. I think he's probably my favorite DC character, and it's such a cool concept. He's a space cop. That's what he is. He's a space cop. Not Ryan Reynolds making like wheelie car tracks at a birthday party. You know what scene I'm talking about, right? It's so terrible. It was so terrible. It was such a bad movie. Mark Strong was absolutely amazing as Sinestro, but the bad guy falls into the sun. That's it. I'm gonna destroy the universe. Oh no, gravity's pulling me into the sun. Horrible. Like, how many people like stamped the approval on that one? Okay, all right, we got this evil villain that can destroy all of the universe. Better not go too close to the sun or they'll die. Ugh. Also, Captain Marvel, a.k.a. Shazam, would make a great... That's the wrong Captain Marvel, Alex. That's Marvel's Captain Marvel. There's another Captain Marvel called Shazam. Different character entirely, all right? Very different than that. This is about a young boy, Billy Batson, and he says the word Shazam, and bye-bye! He turns into Shazam, and his arch nemesis is this evil wizard, Black Adam. And why I say Shazam, aka Captain Marvel, would make a great movie is because there was something about Wonder Woman that made it appealing. There was a fun to it. There was a lot of tongue-in-cheek commentary, things that were happening. It made it light, bright, and fun and enjoyable to watch. By the nature of having a kid as the main character, you could create that kind of fun vibe with a character like Shazam. Also, I want to make a note that Shazam's like the only character in the DC universe that can really just go toe-to-toe with Superman. I was about to tell you a great comic where that happens, but I don't want to tell you about it because knowing that happens kind of ruins the big surprise when it happens. But just note there's a lot of really great Superman, Captain Marvel stories out there. That would make a great movie. Make that happen, Warner Brothers. Moving on. Oh. This young woman. I forget her name because I didn't write it down on this piece of paper because I threw my original notes out. But this young woman is an icon for everybody out there. Why? First of all, she was out camping, right? She was out camping in a scary forest. And she was with some friends, and there was a cottage or a cabin or whatever you want to call it that was on a lake. And these guys were just like camping out on their own in tents and stuff. And they noticed that there was nobody in this cottage/cabin. And so her friends decided, we're just going to break in after dark. We're going to take some stuff from the cottage, and then we'll be able to have a great party. What does she do? She goes along, and then when she realizes they're breaking into the cabin/cottage, she takes off. She's like, whatever, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm just going to go back to the campsite. I'll see you guys later. But she got lost. So she was wandering the woods in Alabama alone with no phone, no nothing, for a month. A month, dude! By the time she was found on the side of the road, she was naked. She was starving, and she would survive by drinking water from a brook and eating berries and wild mushrooms that she found. Now, okay, look at her eyes. I kind of wonder if some of those mushrooms she ate were just like magic mushrooms, because those are stoned eyes. Like, those are like, dude, I've seen some shit kind of eyes. Like, she's been out there munching and shamming for a long time. Look at that. She's also covered in bug bites. You can't really see that really well on the picture there, but she's covered in bug bites because she was wandering the woods naked for like a month. They ended up finding her on the side of the road. Like, I just want to say, what I love about this story is it's a story about survival and perseverance. Imagine being totally alone in the woods naked for a month. That is some scary stuff. But let's not forget, that's where we came from. At one point, all of our ancestors were naked wandering around various parts of the world. Africa's where it all started, man. All of us came from naked Africans. Remember that. At one point, our ancestors were naked in Africa, fighting off larger, scary cats to try and eat bone marrow. That's how we evolved. That is our history. Okay, we are going to talk about history, and it's probably getting a little bit weird and annoying for some people. I woke up this morning and I read about there was a statue in Baltimore of Christopher Columbus. It was a monument. It was over 200 years old, and it was smashed and destroyed because people are trying to stand up and fight against racism and white supremacy and all that stuff. Listen, was Christopher Columbus a good guy? No. No, he was not. Secondly, would we be here right now if it wasn't for Christopher Columbus? No, we wouldn't. You cannot erase history. You can't just ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. Am I saying we should be praising Christopher Columbus? Hells no. But we shouldn't just be destroying monuments all willy-nilly just because now it seems like it's the cool thing to do to try and have alternate history where we erase everything that happened. When you stop reminding yourself about bad things people have done, you're doomed to repeat those things. I get the idea. Oh, I don't want a Christopher Columbus statue because he did some terrible things. You know what? Everybody did terrible things back then. That's just the way it was. I don't care where your heritage is from, what part of the world you're from. You're descended from people that only survived by killing and butchering other people. That's nature. You want to have a great metaphor for humanity as a whole? Watch a nature documentary, okay? Watch the way animals kill and murder each other to survive and feed their young. That's the way people are. That's the way we've always been. That's the way we'll continue to be. It's sad, but it's true. The greatest people in history all did some heinous things. Let's move on here. This guy, do you know who that guy is? That guy is Saladin. Saladin is one of my favorite characters from history, not character. He's a real person. This guy was the one who pretty much spurred on the Third Crusade because he retook Jerusalem. The greatest thing about when he retook Jerusalem, he conquers the city, all the people, because this was the thing that a lot of the Arabic armies did back then. They gave you an opportunity if you were wealthy to ransom yourself, but if you couldn't pay the ransom, you're just a slave then. You got sold into slavery. That's just the way it was. When they took Jerusalem, Saladin, in contrary to when the First Crusade ended and the Christians came in and butchered everybody, literally, Saladin came in, and anybody that couldn't pay their ransom, he paid their ransom himself so that they wouldn't be sold into slavery because he thought slavery was an immoral custom. That's not to say that there weren't thousands upon thousands of slaves that became slaves because of him and his conquests when he retook the Middle East in his holy mission. But also in Alexandria and Cairo, when he was the Sultan there, the Sultan of Egypt, he built over 140 schools and hospitals, but not a single palace. In fact, he turned all the palaces into schools and hospitals for the poor and the sick. But he also thought people that were gay should be dragged into the street and thrown rocks at them until they were dead. Great guy, did great things, also did terrible things. That's just, and the thing is he's still praised today because at the time, spending your own personal fortune to keep people from being turned into slaves, oh my God, you're pretty much a saint. But he also did terrible things. Let's move along. Oh, who's this guy? Leif Eriksson, the guy who supposedly came to the New World. You know what the Vikings did when they got to Newfoundland? This is the thing that drives me crazy. People crap all over Christopher Columbus. Do you think the Vikings didn't do that too? There's so many records of them butchering everybody. Do you know what the white man did when he got to Newfoundland, when the Western Europeans got there like hundreds of years later? They wiped out the Beothuk. They killed them all. It was terrible. History is full of terrible things. Oh, what's this? It's Cleopatra. Because we can't just talk about just men in history doing terrible things. Let's talk about women doing terrible things. When Julius Caesar rolls into Egypt, she seduces Julius Caesar and encourages him to start a war so she can reclaim the throne of the Ptolemaic dynasty. You know what happened in that battle in Alexandria, sorry. You know what happened? The Library of Alexandria was burnt to the ground. The greatest repository of... Hold on a second. You're holding the thing. Are we off the air? Okay, good. The greatest repository of human knowledge ever was destroyed so she could get the crown. That's not counting the tens of thousands of slaves that she had and the other people that were all butchered for her. Human history is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible things. It's always been bad. It always will be bad. So destroying one statue of Christopher Columbus because right now it's chic to pretend bad things never happened. Oh, I want to destroy it because I don't want to praise it. Ugh. Every single statue of somebody here in Toronto did something shitty. That's just the way it is. You can't erase the past. And I've said this a few times and I'll say it again. No matter how progressive you think you are right now, no matter how forward-thinking, your kids and your grandkids' generation will think you're a conservative piece of garbage and you're filled with hatred and misery. That's just the way it is. That's the way humanity progresses. Just accept it. I used to be hip, but now what's hip scares and confuses me. And it'll happen to you. I butchered that quote. I butchered that quote like one of your ancestors did when they were in battle butchering somebody else. You're all the children of murderers. Moving on. Was that too dark? Was that dark? It was kind of dark, but it's also kind of accurate. Let's move on here. Oh, speaking of garbage people, Floyd Mayweather fighting Conor McGregor this weekend. Mayweather's actually having a bit of a bad week, though, you know. The Biebs no longer friends with him on social media. They're no longer buddy-buddy. It's just not happening anymore. Why? Because Justin Bieber's religious advisors advised him against being... What? Don't roll your eyes. Justin Bieber loves Jesus, and Jesus evidently doesn't like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather also spending a lot of time eating Burger King and partying at strip clubs this week in anticipation of his fight. Now, I don't think he's actually doing that. Because Floyd Mayweather is making his big money bank with this fight, and after this he's going to retire, and he does not want his last fight to be a loss. He wants to kill Conor McGregor. That being said, he's going to kill Conor McGregor. The hype machine is going crazy right now. Floyd Mayweather taking a big stand saying that I'm doing this fight for all the oppressed African Americans out there because we've been oppressed by the white man so long. I'm going to beat him for all the things that the white man has done to us, which is great. Considering Floyd Mayweather is a piece of garbage, convicted multiple times of domestic disturbances and spousal abuse, he's a horrible guy. Nobody wants you as their champion for a cause, Floyd Mayweather. Also, Las Vegas was saying that they're worried because 90% of the bets for this fight have been for Conor McGregor because the odds are so against him winning. Bookies are terrified that if Conor McGregor wins, they could all get bankrupted. And part of me is reminded of that episode of South Park from like season 1 where Satan fights Jesus and everyone puts all their money on Satan to win, but Satan bets on Jesus and then he throws the fight to get rich. What if Floyd Mayweather does that? He's that garbage of a human that I would kind of expect him to do it. Just think, how many hundreds of millions of dollars would you be willing to take in order to tarnish your career in your last fight? How many hundreds of millions of dollars? Probably a significant amount, I'm just saying. Now, of course, he can't, like, up front make the bet. There's got to be, like, some back channels for him to go through for that to work out. But it just would not surprise me if that's actually what's happening. Let's move forward. We're going to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones, okay? Apparently, one of the directors was at some party this week to celebrate, apparently after every episode of Game of Thrones, there's a big party for all the people that work on the show. And one of them was talking with somebody from the media and kind of like hinted that one of the Stark kids is going to die. Think about that. One of the Stark kids could die this weekend. Now, there's a lot of people saying that it might not be Bran because there's a rumor going around right now that Bran is actually the Night King, which would be absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look at that. Bran is the Night King. Because remember the episode like a few years ago when he was kind of like learning about being the three-eyed raven and he went back and he saw how the Night King was created? There's people saying that it was actually Bran going back to do that, got him trapped there. His essence was the body. He got stabbed, turned into the Night King. That's how he knows all the things that are going on. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but one thing that I do think is really cool is that this week's episode is called The Dragon and the Wolf, or The Dragon and the Dire Wolf, or something like that. And they're saying that there could be a massive flashback scene to show Jon's parents, Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, and how they fell in love at some tournament. It's very romantic. Because Rhaegar Targaryen was, like, married already, and he won this big tournament, and he gave a flower, not to his wife, but to Lyanna Stark. Caused a lot of controversy, set up the whole big Robert's Rebellion. Very interesting stuff. So we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to find out what goes down on Game of Thrones this weekend. That is 3 to 5 things we didn't have time to talk about today. Although we did just talk about it. We did. So we talked about them.